Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's a short video. This is quick, easy Italian pasta salad. It's good for an easy side dish for maybe like middle of the week meals. You just want something quick, or for spring and summer seasons coming up. It's going to be warmer outside and cooking out. Also good for that. It's best if you can make it the night before and then have it chilled overnight so that all the flavors really incorporate with each other and it's good and cold for the next day. We're going to jump right into starting it here. A second ago you saw me dump in some tricolor rotini into this bowl that's to my left. That's just one box of cooked tricolor rotini. Now we're going to put in one sweet red bell pepper. I'm going to cut this into thin slices and then just chop it into little bitty squares. You just want little bite-sized pieces that you can get on your fork easily. So I'm going to speed through this because this part takes a little while. And as far as measurements on ingredients, nothing is really precise. It's all about your personal taste, which flavors you like more of or less of, but I'll give you a rough estimate on them. So for this bowl, it was one whole box of pasta, cooked and drained and then rinsed, and then one whole bell pepper. So we're going to chop this up. And you can leave out the pepper if you don't want that in there. That's all just personal preference also. I know some people just go straight for pasta and then cheese and maybe some meat chopped up in there. Okay, so we're coming up on the end of the pepper. The next ingredient you can see sitting on my mat are these cherry tomatoes that I got from Sam's. I just did, cupped both of my hands and grabbed those out. I would say it's probably about 8 to 10 little cherry tomatoes. Again, if you like more, you can add more. It doesn't have to be cherry tomatoes. You can take a regular tomato and slice it or dice it into little pieces, or you can actually get canned diced tomatoes and put those in as well. We just had these on hand and they're fresh, so they're not going to last for a long time. So I'm just using them up in our salad. So what I'm doing is I'm going to slice those long ways, and then each of those two halves slice long ways again, and then just cut into little chunks. And you'll also notice I switched knives. Tomatoes are much easier to cut with a serrated knife. The one that I have there is actually labeled as a tomato knife. If you're cutting with a flat blade, sometimes it can slide off of the skin that's on them. And then you'll see me running back. I have eggs boiling in the background to put on regular salads later. Okay, so we have all of our tomatoes cut up. I'm just going to put the juice in there to add more flavor. And wiping up my mess. The next thing we're going to go for is some black olives. I just had a can of whole olives. This part here would be much easier if you bought the sliced olives. But I only had whole, so what I'm going to do is just take each one of these and slice them into about 4 slices each. And then we're going to throw those in, and again, completely personal preference on that. Some people actually use green olives. We just prefer the black olives, or you can leave them out completely. But I'm going for about half of a can of these. And it's just a regular size can, not like a giant can or anything. Okay, throwing those in there. Next, this ingredient is optional also. I'm just throwing it in because we had some. This is banana pepper slices. And these I actually picked up from Aldi. And you don't need a whole lot of these because these ones here are kind of sour tasting, but sometimes you can get them and they're a little bit on the spicy side. So I wouldn't add too much until you see what the flavor is going to be like once this has set for a little bit. I'm putting in, I think, total on this handful was about 4 or 5 little banana pepper slices, and then I think I throw in about 4 or 5 more, so about 10 altogether, and then I'm just rough chopping them into some smaller pieces, tossing those in. So that's what we're looking like so far with all of our vegetable ingredients in there. And then you'll see whenever I get to mixing, I really should have used a bigger bowl to put that in to mix it up and then put it into this one. But of course that would have been easy, so I didn't do it. So another thing to keep in mind is once you've gotten all this in there, even if it's going to fit perfectly in the container that you're going to put it in, I probably would mix it in a larger one. So normally I would put chopped pepperoni into my Italian pasta salad. I forgot to pick up pepperoni this time whenever I was at the store, so we had hard salami that we had grabbed, so I'm just going to use that. And I end up using 6 slices of the hard salami, and this was just the Lunchmate brand from Aldi's. And I'm just cutting it into thin strips, and then again chopping those into little squares, and whenever you put it in, you want to break those little squares apart, because they will want to stick together. And so there you'll just see me kind of roughly breaking them apart and crumbling those in. And you could also add other meats if you wanted to instead of the salami or the pepperoni. I mean, you could throw like some chipped ham or something in there. Okay, this is onion that I had diced up last night. I only needed half an onion for what I made for dinner. And so then I just went ahead and diced up the other half because I knew I was going to be making this today. And that's just a regular white onion, but you could use red onion if you wanted to make it a little bit sweeter. So that's going in the bowl, and our last ingredients are the wet ingredients. And those are the Italian dressing, again just from Aldi. And I put a little bit of red wine vinegar in mine. That's also optional. It just gives it a little bit more of a tangy taste. So on the red wine vinegar, I'm doing about 4 tablespoons, I would say. It's just a nice little splash of it there. And then on our Italian dressing, when I dump it in, I'm putting in probably about half of a cup there. And then I'm going to toss this, and then I end up adding a little bit more afterwards, about another half a cup. So anywhere for 1 box of pasta, I would say about 3/4 of a cup to 1 cup of dressing. And your noodles will absorb some of that while it sits. So before you serve, whenever you stir it again before you serve, if it looks like it's a little bit dry, I would just add a little bit extra dressing onto it. So we're going to toss this, and here's where I realized that I should have used a bigger bowl because half of it is going out onto my counter. And to stir, I'm just using 2 wooden spoons on either side. And there I am picking up all of my little discarded pieces. Okay, so we're going back in for that other roughly half of a cup of dressing. And again, you see me wiping up my mess. It's good to clean as you go and keep your workspace ready. So then we're just going to toss this again and get it really well incorporated. The goal is to try to make sure that every single piece of pasta has some of that dressing on it, and that all of those vegetables that you chopped up in there aren't more heavily on one side of the bowl than the other. You want it all very well mixed so that every serving that you take out of this is going to have a little bit of everything in it. So that's what we're looking like so far. You can see everything looks nice and glossy. That means it's coated with that dressing really well. So now we're going to go in with our very last ingredient, which is some cheese. I'm using shredded mozzarella. Normally I would do the little cubed cheese, and I would mix cubed mozzarella and Colby Jack. But this time all I had on hand was some shredded mozzarella, so that's what we're going to go with. And because, you know, this bowl doesn't have enough stuff in it already that I've dumped out. So on this, I'm going to put a couple of handfuls. All in all, I would say it comes out to about 1 cup of shredded cheese on this. But again, it's personal preference, however much cheese you like in it. If you like more, put more. If you want less, go for less. That's the beauty of a dish like this. You don't actually have to be precise on anything. So now, because I'm not satisfied with how much stuff I've dumped out of the bowl, we're going back for round 2. And we're going to dump about twice as much this time. So again, we're just going to very well incorporate everything, get it nice and mixed up. And you don't want to be too rough when you're stirring this because your noodles will break apart. You want to kind of just gently take your spoon to the bottom of the bowl and then fold them over themselves as you're mixing. And that is it for this recipe. You're finished, unless you wanted to add some extra ingredients here and there, or if you want a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, that would also be fine. But for us, this one is done. And you'll see the final product here in just a second. Everything's very well coated. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and it's going to sit overnight. We're actually going to eat it the following day. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more recipes. We're going to have some freezer cooking and meal prepping videos coming up. And thank you so much for watching. We enjoy all of you watching our videos and just being part of the Vancey family. Thank you.